Fist of the North Star fizzles onto the scene with the latest video game adaptation of the popular manga series. A brawler cut from the same cloth as Dynasty Warriors, Ken's Rage is filled to the brim with gore and violence. You'll certainly get to bash a few skulls in, but is there more to this game's fighting spirit than its lowly brawn?
I'm afraid she's forgotten all about you.
The story in Ken's Rage is loosely adapted from the first major arc of the Fist of the North Star series. Set in a post-apocalyptic world, it centers on Kenshiro, a protector of the weak who wields a formidable fighting style. Seeking to reunite with his lost love, Kenshiro confronts his past at every turn, making new friends and challenging old enemies. Where the story falls short is in the delivery. The cinematic sequences are brief and full of bland exposition, and its movement generally feels rushed. It fails to capture the real essence and impact of the source material, bringing it down to the sorry level of the rest of the package.
I must put this final piece in place. This piece represents the lives of 100 men.
Koei carelessly applied the Dynasty Warriors formula to Ken's Rage, resulting in an incredibly dreary beat-em-up that's dead on arrival. You'll find it increasingly more difficult to trudge on as Kenshiro, bashing your way through mindless hordes of thugs in the story mode. Progressing through its story will unlock new characters, a challenge mode, and new chapters in the dream mode, but we'd hardly call this a reward. Long before you hit Kenshiro's final showdown, your resolve to fight on will evaporate, as will your desire to invest any time in its lackluster extras. The levels are uninspired, messy mazes of endless corridors and unchanging landscapes. Enemies rarely change up their appearances or tactics, and bosses are equally dull. Things hit rock bottom when the game forces you into beating down every single opponent in order to advance. Your headache will only worsen when you discover progress is also impeded at times by poorly conceived platforming and puzzle segments. Character progression feels fruitless, improving your stats and abilities rarely results in any visible signs outside of the occasional new special move. It's not often you want to fault a game for being too long, but Ken's Rage drags on like a drama-filled rant on LiveJournal, and it's equally painful to endure.
The true successor to Hokuto Shinken. He was too great a man for me.
It'll take around 15 hours to complete Kenshiro's story, and those crazy enough to push onward can tack on a few more with the extra character stories and modes.
I have no regrets for the life I have lived!
Ken's Rage fails miserably as a beat-em-up, with combat that's extremely shallow. The lack of depth is only the tip of the iceberg, though. Ken and friends also handle like they have elephants on their backs. Fights crawl at a snail's pace and fail to instill any sense of power in the player. Just trying to close the gaps on an enemy and landing a single punch can be frustrating, and there's no real reason to use the combo system. Clearing out huge groups of foes is a nightmare, so you end up relying on your powerful special abilities. The drawn-out cinematics that accompany each one get old fast, but you'll tolerate them because they're the fastest way to wrap up a battle. The camera controls are equally sluggish, and worse, they lack a function enabling you to quickly reposition the view behind your character. Directing your attacks at any specific enemy is troublesome without a proper lock-on mechanic, though you can utilize such a feature during boss fights. The hit detection is also shoddy, so expect both whiffs and inexplicable hits. The bottom line here is the combat is simply not fun. You'll end up trying to avoid battles as often as you can. Given there's little to do but fight in Ken's Rage, that doesn't leave us with much.
To fill even more unmarked graves.
Fist of the North Star's post-apocalyptic world is bland and dreary indeed. A barren wasteland probably isn't the best environment to work with, but little effort was expended in adding variety to the world. Even the enemies you fight rarely change, which makes things feel even more monotonous. The animations do stand out, but they come at the expense of the combat's fluidity. The generic rock-infused soundtrack and average voice work do little to compensate for any of this.
You were destined to lose before you even started.
Playing games should be fun, but you'll find absolutely no joy in Ken's Rage. The mindless battles and atrocious combat are a sad mockery of the source material. If you're foolhardy enough to bite on this, you'll find yourself quite literally able to relate to its furious protagonist.
You bastard.
You would use that move on me?
You are already dead.